Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us on this Gradcracker webinar with AECOM. I'd first like to introduce the Gradcracker members of the panel. So my name's Carla, a director at Gradcracker, and I have worked with Adam and AECOM for a number of years now. So AECOM advertise their degree apprenticeships, placements and graduate opportunities on Gradcracker, which are now nearly all live. We are waiting for some more to come through, so that's why I said nearly. Sophie?
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie, also a director here at Gradcracker, and my role is really similar to Carla's in that I look after a lot of the employers who advertise on Gradcracker, and I'll be helping Carla on the webinar today. Anyone who's joined any of the previous webinars will know that I don't usually sound like this, so my voice is a little bit husky, but I'm praying that it's going to hold out for the duration of the webinar.
I mean, actually enjoying Sophie being a little bit quieter and sounding quite sexy. So thank you very much for that, Sophie. So during this webinar, our aim is to find out a little bit more about AECOM. So we'll talk about who they are, what they do, and also what opportunities you, our STEM students, can apply for this year on Gradcracker. Starting with our contact, Adam, from the Early Careers team, we'll have an introduction to the business and also their opportunities. We will then speak to graduates about what life has been like for them, what projects they have worked on, if they're involved in any networking groups, what training and development they have received so far, and also their future plans. We will then end the webinar by discussing the recruitment process and giving you an idea of how you can be successful. During this part of the webinar, the graduates will also give an insight into how they use Gradcracker to apply to AECOM and why they have been so successful. So we're going to give you some really, really good hints and tips. If you've attended any of the webinars so far this season, you'll know that there's a new feature that you can submit your questions for us to ask the panel. So we've got some really good questions that have come in today. So watch this space and hopefully you'll hear your name and your question a little bit later on. So let's get started and meet AECOM. For Adam, as always, lovely to see you. Adam will be giving an insight into AECOM, the roles which are currently live on Gradcracker and also the recruitment process. And we are joined by graduates Sam, Christina and Alex, who will be speaking to very shortly. So Adam, I'm going to come back to you. Tell me all about AECOM.
Thanks, Carla, and hi everybody. So my name's Adam. I've been at AECOM for about 10 years now, and I head up early careers for the UK and England. So I'm just going to give you an overview of kind of what we do and the opportunities that we have. I'm sure you're looking forward to speaking to our graduates more than listening to me. So I'm going to be quick, and then you can hear about what our great grads are doing in our business. So next year, so for FY25 or 2025, we've got around 350 graduates and apprentice opportunities in the UK and Ireland. Of those, there's about 170 are engineering opportunities. And on top of that, we're going to have probably about 70 to 80 placement opportunities too within engineering. So that's anything from 6 to 12 weeks in the summer, next summer, or it could be anything from a 6 to 12 month industrial placement starting generally next September. We recruit into about 28 offices across the UK and Ireland. So we have offices and roles in Scotland, England, Wales, in Cardiff, so just the one office in Wales, Northern Ireland, and also in the Republic of Ireland. So in terms of the teams that we recruit engineering students into, so we've got building engineering, and that includes building services, building structures, sustainability, fire and lighting. We've got our energy business where we have opportunities in nuclear, renewable energy, and also what am I forgetting? Transmission and distribution. Yeah. We've got our transportation business where we've got engineering roles in rail, bridges, highways, geotechnics, tunneling, and transport planning and aviation. And we've got our water business where we have opportunities in water resources, wastewater, coastal dams, hydrology, and also process engineering. So quite a lot there where we take engineering students into, very diverse. I probably haven't covered absolutely everything, but they're the key teams that we're recruiting engineering students into in 2025. Yeah. Okay. In terms of some of the projects, just to give you an example of the sorts of work that we have done or are doing at the moment. So within water up in Mansfield, we're working on the largest sustainable urban drainage system project in the UK, pretty much the first of its kind. We're working on the Great Grid Upgrade Partnership. So that's a major grid modernisation programme connecting clean energy from where it's generated to homes and businesses across England and Wales by the end of the decade. We're also working with Tesla Energy, so delivering design services for their battery energy support system, one of the world's largest battery energy storage systems for offshore wind. Project Euston, so the rebuild and design of a wet Royal Navy Docklands in Scotland. And then some other projects that we worked on in the past. So we've worked on the upgrades and builds of Houses of Parliament and Dublin Airport, the Lancaster Uni decarbonisation project. For those who've been to sports, we worked on the London and Rio Olympics and also the recent Football World Cup for some of the stadia for that World Cup. And within transportation, we worked on some major projects that I'm sure you've all heard of, like Crossrail, HS2, and also Heathrow Airport.
So there's something for everybody. I was just going to say, Adam, there's something for everybody, isn't there? Basically, you know, you've got lots of opportunities, and you keep mentioning engineering, but I just want to be more specific to the students who are watching. So it's STEM, isn't it? So you are open to students from a STEM discipline, covering your degree apprenticeships, placements, and graduate opportunities. So what I want to do now, Adam, is just give the students a bit of a shout out that those opportunities are currently on Gradcracker. So after this webinar, you can go and apply to your positions that you've got advertised, and it might be worth giving AECOM a quick follow as well. So Adam just mentioned that all of the opportunities aren't live yet, but if you give them a quick follow, then you will receive an email and push notification when these roles go live. And so Adam, I just wanted to get that in before you went on to speak about something else.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So yes, that's the engineering side. In terms of STEM, you know, we have opportunities in quantity surveying, building surveying, project management, within our big environmental practice. We've got one environmental grads on the call today. So it's if we look at STEM as a whole, it makes up a large proportion of those 350 roles that we've got. A couple of other things I just want to mention quickly so everyone knows. So start dates, very flexible on start dates at AECOM. You know, a lot of our graduates and apprentices do start kind of late summer, September time, just because when you're finishing university. But if we offer somebody who's available now or somebody's available for the summer, we tend to be as flexible as possible, subject to the workloads in the particular team that you've been offered to join. And the other thing I wanted to mention is we do offer hybrid working at AECOM. So, you know, you're earning your careers, and so it's better for you to be in the office around your team, your peers, to kind of support your learning and development. But there will be a mix of working from home and working from the office, probably maybe 1 or 2 days a week from home initially. And then you might find as you become more senior, more experienced, that your balance changed a little bit to maybe 2 or 3 days a week from home, and a couple of days in the office. It will vary across the business. So, you know, we've got 28 offices. We recruit into about 75 different teams. So there is a bit of variation, but it will certainly be hybrid working for most of our graduates joining us.
Fantastic. Thanks, Adam. And also we do want to touch on deadlines as well. So currently on the Gradcracker Hub, there aren't any deadlines mentioned because you run something called rolling recruitment. So could you just tell the students who are watching what that actually means?
Yeah, so we operate rolling recruitment, and what that means is we don't have a deadline. So some companies might have 31st of December as their deadline. Are there 31 days in December? Have I got that right? Yeah.
Yes. Well done.
Yes. Yeah. So we essentially, what we say to students is apply as soon as you can. So we open the 1st of September, and we'll start doing final stage interviews and making offers this month, essentially. So as soon as we've got candidates coming through the back end of the process, we'll start doing interviews and making offers. So the advice we're giving, and I'm sure you hear it from every company that you're speaking to, is apply as soon as you can. You know, that will help make sure that you can be considered for your preference in terms of the team you want to work for and the office you want to work in.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's worth getting the applications in, and it's worth, like Adam mentioned there, about all the projects that AECOM has been involved in over the years, and future projects and current projects that they're working on now. So make sure you give them a mention. It shows that you've done your research, you've watched this webinar, and you've looked on the hub on Gradcracker, because a lot of those projects are also mentioned on there. So thank you very much, Adam. What we're going to do is come back to you towards the end of the webinar just to give hints and tips and talk a little bit more about the recruitment process that you've kind of touched on a little bit there. So Sophie, I'm going to hand over to you. Hopefully you're going to last me all the way through this webinar and we're going to meet all the grads in a little bit more detail who all found their jobs on Gradcracker and watch the webinar next year. So Soph, over to you.
Thank you very much, Carla, and thank you very much, Adam, for the introduction to all of the roles there. So yeah, I'm going to come over and meet you three graduates now and find out a little bit more about your journey so far with AECOM. So Christina, I am going to start with you. Could you start by just telling us a little bit about your educational background?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Christina and I work as a graduate project manager. I've been with AECOM for around 3 years now. I joined AECOM straight after university actually in 2021. So I went to uni at the University of Manchester and I did an MN in civil structural engineering. So yeah, that's a little bit of a background about myself. I actually joined as a graduate structural engineer, worked as a structural engineer with AECOM for 3 years, and then I've just recently moved to project management in September.
Okay. Fantastic. So you've been with the business since 2021. So you've done 3 years of structural engineering and now just recently moved into project management?
Yes, that's right. I've just moved in September.
So fantastic. So you've completed the graduate program?
Yes. I've completed the graduate program because across disciplines it's quite similar. So I completed it with engineering and then now it's just topping off with a little bit of experience in project management.
Okay, and why did you decide to make the move from structural engineering into project management?
Okay, so I quite enjoyed the work I was doing anyway, because that's kind of why I studied for 4 years and it was quite good. I think I had reached a point where I want to branch out a little bit more and kind of seeing projects from start to the end was quite appealing to me. So I thought I'll try it out. So yes, it was a little bit of an internal transfer between the teams. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think we're going to come back and find out a little bit more about that journey so far and the things that you've been involved in and, you know, those transferable skills. But I just wanted to kind of go back a little step because whilst you were at university, you did some internship experience, didn't you? Could you tell us a little bit more about the internship that you undertook and how you feel like that benefited you in applying to graduate roles?
Okay. So I think the experience I liked the most in terms of internship was my 6 weeks in Brazil. So I went to Brazil in my second year university summer time. So I worked as a volunteer for around 6 weeks and it was basically a team with other kind of student engineers and student architects. And we were all coming together to design a shelter for the Center for Less Fortunate Children. So yeah, no, it was a really good experience actually. I would recommend it to anyone to kind of go outside of your comfort zone a little bit and kind of reach out for these opportunities and put these things on your CV, because even after 3 to 4 years, when I did my interview for project management, I was asked about this opportunity. I met loads of people from all around the world, which was really good. And again, it teaches you a lot of skills that are quite useful in the working environment. Like I lived with a Portuguese family. I didn't know a word of Portuguese, but it was quite good because then you kind of learn to be quite adaptable, which is quite good, I think, when you're working as well. So yeah, no, definitely. It'd be an advice of mine to just reach out for these opportunities. And if you've done anything, make sure that you're highlighting them in your CV so that your employer knows. I can ask about these things in your interview and make it a little bit more interesting as well.
Amazing. I think there's a lot of things that you said there about that, you know, which is why that kind of opportunity will stand out. I mean, there's flexibility on travel and location. You're obviously not afraid to go and travel and try new things, which I know is obviously really important to, especially larger employers. I mean, Adam mentioned that just in the UK, there's 28 different locations with AECOM, and you may well have the opportunity to travel around those. And then also, you know, putting yourself out there to go and do something completely different is an amazing thing to put on your CV. And then the work that you did whilst you were there will also have contributed towards your future skills. So yeah, it's something that we talk about all the time on the webinars, isn't it, Carla, about internships, no matter, you don't necessarily have to go to Brazil, but, you know, just doing any sort of internship opportunity gives you so many different skills that you can kind of draw on and that'll feed into future career prospects. So that's really good to hear, Christina. I think, Carla, you had a question to jump in with now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, thanks for that, sir. So I've got a question on relocation, which falls on quite nicely, Christina, if you speak about relocation. And so from Mohammed at Edinburgh University. So hi, Mohammed, thank you for submitting your question to us. And so I just want to discuss with you about your relocation. I know you relocated for your roles at AECOM. So what help and support were you given by AECOM, if you don't mind going into that a little bit more detail?
Okay, so basically what I did was a transfer between teams in the first place. So I started off at the Chesterfield office, and then I worked there until I actually needed to move for personal reasons. So I moved to the Cardiff office after that. But because it was within the same team, it was quite straightforward. And again, my manager was extremely supportive. He just contacted the new manager and asked if they actually needed someone in the office. They actually had a position for a grad at the time. So I just met with the team lead just to kind of have a bit of feel of the team. And then I just moved between offices, and it was quite, again, straightforward. And then when I moved across disciplines, I actually had to go through an interview. So I applied internally, and then I had a couple of interviews, actually, one less formal and one a little bit more formal. Again, when it comes to the support side of things, I was quite surprised because I spoke to my manager before applying, and then I kind of told him, this is where I see myself in a few years. I think I just want to try it out. And he was very supportive. He was actually the one kind of sharing a bit of insight about his career journey and kind of telling me that what's important is actually my professional career and how I'm advancing. So it was quite stress-free actually, because once you've got that little bit of support from your manager, it does feel a bit better to kind of do these things and go forward with your career. So I then did my interviews for the London office, and then I've moved across the last office, so that would be the London office now.
Yeah, definitely. What we'll do is, Christina, is we'll come back and get your hints and tips a little bit later on when you're going through the application process and your interviews that you've mentioned there. And so, Adam, I'm going to come back to you if you don't mind answering this question. So relocation as a whole, so you mentioned you've got quite a few different types of opportunities currently advertised on Gradcracker. What support is given to the students? So, you know, placement students, interns and grads, and if they do need to relocate.
Yeah, so we do try and connect anybody who's relocating to a different part of the UK or Ireland. We do try and connect them into the early careers community in that office, right? So I have to be upfront, but there's no financial support that we give in terms of relocating from one part of the UK to another. But we try and help them in terms of connecting into that community who can advise on how they did it in terms of moving to a new flat or whatever it might be. Where they looked in terms of finding accommodation, and it just gives them that additional support before joining AECOM to meet people, get ideas in terms of where to move. And I think there's been situations where new joiners have actually connected in with that group and moved in and shared and done flat shares with them. So there's more we're looking to do in AECOM with that. So the kind of the pre-onboarding piece, we're looking at potential options around platforms where we can engage our new joiners much better with the offices and the current graduates and apprentices on the programme to kind of help that transition into the office.
Perfect. But that, you know, now you still have like your networking groups and people that you can speak to. There's a lot of support there for people who do need to relocate, and then watch this space for the future. And see the developments at AECOM if you do decide to apply to their opportunities. But perfect, thanks Adam, thanks Christina. So back to you.
Thank you very much, Carla. Yeah, I think that's one of the most daunting things about relocating, isn't it? Is not knowing where to move or how to go about it. So being put in touch with people who are in the same situation is probably the most important thing. Alex, coming over to you now. So could you give us a bit of an introduction as to who you are, what you do and where you come from?
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a graduate geotechnical engineer in the London office at the moment. Geotechnical engineering, for those who might not know it, it's a niche branch of civil engineering relating to engineering and construction in soil and rock, and kind of designs around that. So that's kind of a little introduction to that. And yeah, I actually live outside of London with my family still, but I commute in. It's very, yeah, convenient. So yeah, I'm enjoying that.
Fantastic. And where did you go to university, Alex, and what did you study?
So I went to University of Cambridge. I went there as the first 2 years. I did engineering, and they're actually general engineering there. I didn't know initially what I wanted to go into, and that kind of just gave me some really good opportunities to explore. I actually figured out quite quickly that I wanted to specialize in civil engineering. So my final 2 years were in civil structural environmental engineering, but I also had the opportunity for my master's project to do a life cycle analysis, so sustainability based research work within civil engineering, which was really interesting. Yeah, that's kind of university in a nutshell.
So you joined as a graduate in 2023, but you did also do a summer internship with AECOM, didn't you? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I joined as a graduate last November, but prior to that, I had done in summer 2022. I did a 8-week long placement in the London office with the ground engineering team there. And yeah, I really enjoyed that because I felt there was also already quite a lot of responsibility getting immersed into projects, helping with different tasks, and also getting the experience to work on a range of different things. And kind of when I did that internship over the summer, I wasn't sure 100% whether I could see myself in geotechnical engineering or maybe something slightly similar. But that placement really helped to solidify that like this was what I wanted to do. So it made my 4th year a lot easier because I actually got offered a job off the back of that internship. So I kind of signed the contract before I finished the internship, and
Amazing.
it meant the 4th year was kind of just a bit of a breath. I could take a breath and just focus on my studies, focus on my grades, focus on enjoying my last year at uni. The world of work.
Before the real life happens.
Yeah,
kicks in.
No, that's brilliant. And, all the things you said there are just some of the really great reasons to do some sort of internship or placement when you're at university, not just from, the experience that you gain, but that pressure it takes off, but also the information that you get to go back into university and have that real world context of what you've been doing. So when you went into the ground engineering team, was that in London as well for your internship, or was that in a different office?
It was. I'd actually applied. Well, I said in my application, I'd said that I was open to work in the St Albans office and the London office because they're both equally as close. Or equally, I actually said that I could work in the Birmingham office because I have some family who live that way. But St Albans was actually undergoing works when I started as my internship. So actually was commuting to the London office, kind of gelled with the team there, and kind of it all carried on from there. And that's where I'm based now. Well, when I'm not working from home, obviously. So
So can I just chip in and ask Adam a question just on the opportunities? So you mentioned about the different locations that you could be based there, Alex, when you was giving us an introduction. Adam, just to go back a step, so students who are wanting to apply, how does that work? They have to mention their desired location when they put their application in, and can they apply for more than one opportunity?
Yeah, so it can apply to as many roles as they like, essentially. And then what we do in the application form is that there's 3 questions around location. So you can give a first, second, and third choice preference, essentially. So what's your first preference? Where do you really want to work? And then you can give a number 2, number 3, if you want to, or you can say, I only want to work in London, or I only want to work in Edinburgh. And then that's how we consider them moving forwards.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Or, sorry, the other option is you can say I'm completely flex. So
Yeah.
there is an option to say I'll work anywhere. If
you put me somewhere, anywhere.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Adam.
Amazing. Thanks, Carla. Just coming back to you, Alex, to finish off, because I know when you joined AECOM, and this kind of goes back to what Adam was saying at the beginning, that really flexible on start dates and things. You had that experience, didn't you, of the flexibility? Can you tell us a little bit about how that worked in your situation?
So when I came to kind of sign the contract, I kind of said, they kind of said, when do you want to start? And I said, well, when can I start? And they said, pick a date, you can come on that. And I was like, oh, amazing. So I actually went traveling for 4 months after I graduated. And I think I probably emailed Adam halfway through my 4th year saying, can I push it back another month? I want to do another month of traveling, please. And they were really flexible and really understanding on that. And that just, really helped to kind of, allow me to kind of, immerse myself before the kind of, real world of work, that kind of thing. So no, it was great to kind of get those opportunities in. And I felt like AECOM was supportive in like enabling me to have that opportunity in that time so that I would then feel completely ready when I came back to work.
Yeah. I think that's really important, and it's really nice to hear that kind of real world example of, what Adam was saying, that, Alex, you've done it. You've said, look, I want to have a bit of time before I start. Can I do that? And the answer was just 100% yes. So that's great. So thank you very much for that, Alex. Sam, I'm going to come and say hi to you now. So thank you very much for joining us. Could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, please?
Hi everyone, my name's Sam. I'm an air quality consultant with AECOM in the Nottingham office. I went to I'm originally from Warrington, but I went to the University of Bradford, where I did a master's degree in chemical engineering. I joined AECOM in 2022 as a graduate air quality consultant, and I've recently been promoted from the graduate position up to the consultant level. So I'm now an air quality consultant.
That's brilliant.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit more about what an air quality consultant does.
Well, an air quality consultant, one of the main things that we kind of do is that we kind of do assessments and modelling for different projects to help determine their impact on like the surrounding area in terms of the air quality, and which includes incorporating the natural background concentrations. And we also help model the impacts on particular receptors. So any particular sensitive receptors, so like schools or care homes or hospitals. And also we look at ecological receptors as well. So any areas that have designations, such as sites of special scientific interest, or special area conservations, or areas of outstanding natural beauty. So we do a model. So in terms of receptors, we choose in terms of trying to understand the impact that our project or development might have. We do choose receptors where that are particularly relevant in terms of the impact on both human health and on ecological areas as well.
Oh, that sounds really, really interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about, you've done the 2-year was it 2 years that you did on the graduate scheme?
Yes, it was 2 years.
Yeah. And now you've been promoted to consultant. How does that process work? Is there kind of anything that you need to do when you finish the graduate program to apply for a job, or do you just kind of naturally progress into one? How does that process work?
Well, naturally I started onto the graduate program, but AECOM have like an internal graduate program called Advance, and there's kind of like 3 main steps to it. And well, I know that when I started on it, this is when we were just starting to come out of COVID, so a lot of it was kind of virtual. So I think the first 2 main steps were kind of like a series of webinars, a bit like what we're doing today, and then the kind of 3rd main step of it was like a 2-day experience in one of AECOM's offices, in which you basically simulate a project from start to finish. So I'll go through things like putting like a bid together for the project, which kind of includes all the work that you're going to do for the project and a price to give to the client, and then you kind of go all through that, and you kind of help. And part of that is kind of actually simulating a meeting that you might have with a client, which I think is a very good experience, just to kind of get your eye in terms of what a meeting with a real life client might be like. And also an event like that is also very good as a kind of just a networking experience, because when I was there, I think there were definitely graduates or people in my position that I'd probably not spoken to before, because they had come from different offices, or we've been involved in different projects. And so it was definitely a very good, those 2 days were very good, both experience in terms of simulating a project from start to finish, and also just as very good networking experience as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. So the graduate program obviously includes quite a lot of training and development opportunities in that. I wanted to talk a little bit more, Sam, about, say, a particular project that you've been involved in. Is there anything any particular project that you can kind of tell us about, and how you kind of worked on that, did any kind of additional training and development and things like that on a particular area?
Yes, well, I would say that one project that I've kind of been involved in for quite a while now, I think from not long after I started it, was HS2, was the HS2 line, but I think it was a particular section of the HS2 line, I think from sort of in like the Midlands area. So that includes the part that goes sort of right into the centre of Birmingham. So basically, this involved basically learning how to use new pieces of equipment that I hadn't experienced before. So and we're good because for HS2 we have like a network of like kind of fully automatic dust monitors which help give us continuous readings for like air quality in terms of on all of our different construction sites all over the place. And basically we had to learn how to basically just help maintain those equipment and how to use it just to keep the equipment in its best condition possible. And also there's quite a bit of report writing as well. So I had to do like different like reports in terms of like reporting this sort of the dust readings that we were getting from the monitors, and also help detail some of the construction works that were going on in particular areas at particular times. So it was definitely a good experience, definitely a good experience in terms of learning new types and learn new pieces of equipment, and it's basically to help develop and advance my report writing skills as well.
Amazing. There's so many things that you've said just in your introduction about the different types of experiences you've had. So the kind of more soft skill training that you had during just the graduate scheme and presenting and working with other types of people, and then the really technical things that are kind of really related to your role. And this is something that we hear quite a lot, and that we know that our students are really interested in, how do I kind of go about learning new things? And, there's so much that's built into the graduate program at AECOM that you've just mentioned there in about a 3 or 4 minute section. So thank you very much for that, Sam. I'm going to come back to you now, Christina, to hear a little bit more about your experiences so far. So we've heard that you did 3 years in structural engineering and now you've moved into project management. So tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you've been involved at AECOM since you joined.
So as an engineer, I worked on a little bit more the technical side of things. I designed different parts of structures, where that's kind of bridges or canopies and whatnot. I've had a couple of assessments in terms of bridge assessments to carry out, which was quite good because you kind of apply all the things that you learn in uni, which don't really make sense that much when you're learning them, and then you kind of put them all together into a project, which was quite interesting. So that was kind of my experience in terms of the technical side of things. But then I've also had quite a lot of experience in sustainability, which was quite good because I was sent to kind of attend a few trainings, which was interested in terms of kind of calculating embodied carbon, how the impact of embodied carbon can actually make us different as engineers when we make decisions at the tendering stage of a project. So again, when it comes to the sustainability side of things, I was asked to be part of this team that actually creates training for AECOM. So that was actually quite good. I enjoyed it because it was a small team. It was the 3 of us, and we created a full-on training which has been enrolled into AECOM University, and we've managed to kind of talk to other colleagues about sustainability and specifically the impact that we have as engineers. So yeah, no, that's definitely been quite enjoyable.
That's a brilliant one.
Yeah, it was good because you see kind of things that you've been working on for months all together in a PowerPoint and then in a presentation. So that's definitely a good experience. And then in terms of project management, I've started on a small scale project, and that was kind of intentional because how it works in project management is that you kind of try and get all the experience that you can within the 2 years because it kind of pairs with your chartership. So
yes, okay.
So it's intentional that you get given ideally a small scale project because you can see it from the beginning to the end. And then you can get a lot of experience from that, and then you can kind of put that all in your chartership, and eventually, whether you're doing an interview for the chartership or a submission, you can kind of show that you've ticked off a variety of things. So yeah, no, that's my experience so far. It's been quite varied.
No, definitely. It's very varied and also really interesting kind of mix of technical and then also getting involved in the training side of things. And then I love the fact that you were able to say, oh, I now want to go and try something completely different. And AECOM have just completely supported that and given you the help to do that. Actually, something that you've mentioned there, Christina, I just want to hop over to you, Adam. Christina mentioned Chartership. Is that something that is kind of supported on all of the graduate schemes, or does that vary by discipline?
Yeah, I mean, it is supported across all disciplines for sure. I mean, there are some that are more structured, like the ICE, BRICS, IET, IMECE. So those kind of major professional institutions, there's a lot more structure around what you need to demonstrate in order to become chartered. So, for the ICE, generally it takes 5 or 6 years, I think, in order to kind of tick off all the development objectives that you need to demonstrate. And I think globally we've got more people on the ICE than any other company in the world. So that's our biggest professional institution. But yeah, so some of the smaller ones, it's not as structured. So we do still sponsor them towards professional qualification, but it might only take a couple of years, for example. And it's a lot more experience based. So there aren't, I think for the ICE, there's 26 development objectives or something like that you've got to specifically tick off, where the others are not quite as structured as that.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you, Adam. Sorry, Carla, were you going to say something then?
I was trying to get more breath in. I was just gonna, Christina, you mentioned about AECOM University. I thought I got that right. What is that? Tell us more about AECOM University.
So AECOM University is a platform where you can kind of develop yourself from the moment you join AECOM up until kind of the end of your career, AECOM really, because it's forever. It's got loads of interesting things like modules that you can sign up to. If you feel like some of them are compulsory, so you get enrolled to them and then you have a deadline and you have to kind of finish them before that deadline. And then all of these kind of feed into your development as kind of different disciplines that you're working with and stuff. So it's quite good because, as Sam mentioned before, something that's compulsory for the graduates would be the advanced scheme. So that's kind of panned out in the 2 years. And then in terms of other modules that you might be interested in, for example, sustainability is quite a big one that people tend to kind of try and fill in their gaps by attending these modules on AECOM University. So definitely there's a lot of support. It's just kind of down to you to see where the resources are.
Yeah, and how much is it down to you, Christina? So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about sustainability, and there's obviously a course on at AECOM University, do you get time within your actual day job to study further, or do you kind of have to do things outside of your 9 to 5?
So I think it depends on teams as well. Some teams are a little bit more kind of open to these things, but as long as it doesn't affect like the project that you're working on as much. Whereas with other teams, if you are quite busy in your 9 to 5, you tend to do these CPD kind of after work or during lunch. So in the Chesterfield office, we had this initiative, which I was part of, where we had lunchtime CPDs. So you could take that hour to kind of either go through these modules, or we all kind of gathered together in a meeting room and we went through things like sustainability modules or other topics that might be quite useful for the team development. So it's a lot of it's personal choice. And again, when it comes to charterships, you might have a little bit of requirement, kind of. I think IC requires around 30 hours a year or something of CPD. So you try and get that done around the year.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really good that AECOM have got such a good resource that's there for you to utilise and really further your skills. And just one last question, Christine, if you don't mind. So we're mentioning chartership, Sophie's been asking Adam about chartership as well. Personally to you, why is achieving chartership so important?
So I feel like because it's been quite structured for me, it gives me kind of accountability in terms of what kind of things I've done and what other experience I would need to kind of get where I want to be. And especially when I look kind of senior management and whoever is kind of in the upper management side of things, it's quite clear that they've got a variety of experience. So I think those kind of competencies being laid out there,
Yeah.
it's quite helpful for me to kind of see, okay, this is the experience I've got. I've got this much left. And actually, I've got monthly meetings with my line manager where I go through these competencies and I'm like, okay, this project gave me X amount of experience in this field. Can I perhaps get more experience in like the financial side of things, or something like that? So yeah, it kind of keeps me on track.
I
That's
suppose
why I
it's
like it.
like
Yeah.
individual goals as well as
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
experiences that you might not think about that you needed, and because
Yeah.
Chartership makes you go into those directions as well, it makes you a well-rounded character, I suppose, as well, doesn't it? Perfect. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you very much. Bit of a tangent there, but a very, very relevant and very, very interesting one.
I'm doing a jest.
Alex,
I'm just chucking random ones in there.
I know. Alex, I'm going to come back to you now to hear a little bit more about your experiences so far. So you've told us a little bit about your internship, and you're now joined as a graduate. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience on the graduate scheme so far?
So I've currently completed the advanced one, first kind of part 3. I think because we're now out of the pandemic, we actually had the fortunate experience for our first one to actually go up to Birmingham for a team building day as part of advanced one, which is really nice. You know, we'd had some online webinars, and then we attended a day in Birmingham which had some members of the senior leadership team across the different business lines, and the opportunities to kind of do some team building activities, and also, as Sam was mentioning, kind of an important way to network with people. You know, met people who I'd seen around my office and finally got to have a chat with them, or even meeting and I suppose making friends with people in other offices. So a great way to kind of meet other people, and you meet these people and you're like, oh, I didn't know that AECOM did that. That's pretty cool. And hear about all these other like jobs. A lot of people hadn't heard of ground engineering or didn't know what we did. So it's always great to kind of share, and and it also gives you a great way. So if say I needed someone in a specific field, I'd be like, oh, I met someone on the advanced program. I'm going to drop them a message on Teams and see what they've got to say about that. So it's been a great way, meet people, and just kind of to be able to kind of expand those soft skills. Actually, a kind of a slight, well, not tangent, related to it. Within ground engineering, they've actually just launched their own technical training academy to kind of help us with specific projects. So that's really good. That's kind of literally just started, and they've managed to get all of the a lot of the senior people within ground engineering involved in helping these like webinars and workshop sessions to improve the skills of the graduates. So kind of this comes into more the technical training side of the job, whether that's desk studies, whether that's looking at ground investigation, which are like a lot of things that we do, and then looking at how we can help to enhance our designs and enhancing those kinds of skills, which has also been great, as well as actually, I'm sure other teams within AECOM have this, but we also have an early careers network within ground engineering as well, and we have continual professional development talks, which is kind of what Christina was talking about within careers network, but then also within the wider like team as well. So like lots of learning.
So much learning, and it's so nice to hear that all 3 of you are in very different teams, but you've all got access to the same amount of support, so much training related to both your current roles, but also anything that you wanted to do outside of that. I think what you've mentioned there, Alex, about the early careers network is so important. We do know from talking to our students that it can be a very daunting experience thinking about joining a company, potentially relocating, not knowing anybody else, and having those networks internally where you can be like, okay, I've kind of almost got this ready-made group of people that are in the same boat as me or have recently come through this, is really nice to hear, and it is a really nice support network for graduates going in. And also I imagine a bit of a social side of things as well. Which is going to lead me back to you, Sam, just to talk about kind of more social aspect of AECOM before we move back to Carla to hear about the application process. So can you tell us a little bit about, how you kind of interact with your team? Socially, do you do anything outside of work? Have you made friends there? How does that work?
Yes, well, in terms of the communication, I think it's kind of a mixture. I think as Adam has said, we do have a kind of a mixture of hybrid learners that's partly in the office and partly working from home. So when it's in the office, you kind of mainly talk in person just to kind of like bounce ideas off each other and just learn from each other. But when people are working from home, we kind of use like that I've used Teams because I think that's the main platform that we use
Yeah.
here. In terms of like social events, we do I mean, particularly in the Nottingham office, we do have like a sports and social club or social
Oh, nice.
social and sports committee, and they help organise events every now and again just to help organise have more social events outside of work.
Yeah.
And of course, I think as particularly with the graduate program, I think there is definitely, I think particularly now with more things being held in person again, there is definitely more opportunities to have both to use them as both as like a networking event as a kind of a social event in terms of like going for meals after all the stuff has been done for the day and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And also kind of the main event we do here is that we have like a Christmas work day every year,
Yeah.
which is always fun. So
Yeah.
and there are definitely opportunities to get involved in things socially as well, and also particularly in Nottingham. Very recently we hosted a football tournament, kind of like a five-a-side football
nice.
tournament. So I think that was about a couple of weeks ago, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that was also a very good social event, and also there was like a kind of a networking side to it as well.
Yeah.
So particularly within AECOM, particularly here in the Nottingham office, there are definitely opportunities to get involved in the kind of social events sort of outside of work.
That's great. Thanks, Sam. And I think that's a really good point. You know, a lot of the social stuff that you do outside of work is actually a really good networking opportunity as well, and a chance to meet people, like Alex was saying, across different teams that, you know, you may well work with at some point in your career in the future. So thank you very much, Sam. And thank you very much, Alex and Christina, for giving us, you know, an overview to what you've been doing so far. But I'm going to hand back to Carla now to hear about how we get the job at AECOM now.
Me and Sophie have been calling AECOM for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And then the guys in the call was like, oh, we like to call it AECOM. So now means like AECOM. So that's what that was about. So thanks for that. So thanks everybody else. So Adam, I'm going to come back to you, like Sophie just mentioned, to talk about the application process. So in detail, when a student looks at one of your opportunities on Gradcracker, they click on the apply link. What are the next steps?
Yeah, I was going to say really quickly about what we were just talking about then. So we've got early careers networks across probably about a third of our graduate offices, at the moment, and they've all grown organically by one or two of our graduates just saying, right, let's grow a network. And that's all how it's happened. So the business hasn't pushed it. It's our graduates have just stepped up and organically grown those networks. So we're going to be looking over the next kind of 6 to 12 months to kind of find volunteers in other offices to, again, kind of organically, locally, just grow those over the next 6 to 12 months. And, you know, that's both social stuff, but also learning as well. There's a lot going on there.
I love that they've got the opportunity to go and do that as well. You know, if you want to go, you know, put together a rounded team or whatever, they can just go do it. You know, there's the option there for you to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And they're very connected into our leadership and also our exec team, actually. So Glasgow recently had one of our exec team came over and just met with their early careers network for an afternoon. So yeah, very connected into that as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Evan.
Cool. All right. Sorry, the actual question you asked me. So in terms of the application process, so yeah, it's essentially a 3-stage process. So we've got an application form, very slimmed down form, you know, by design. We know you guys are applying to multiple companies, not just AECOM. So we've slimmed it down as much as we possibly can, just to kind of collate the key stuff that we need around which offices do you want to work in, when are you available, what did you study. But we do ask you around work experience, you know, so you have the opportunity to sell what you've done in terms of work experience. And there's also a free text question around, if you're applying to water, why do you want to work in the water sector? So you can really kind of demonstrate your passion and interest in that part of AECOM. You can attach your CV. It's not essential, but you can. And again, you can also, if you've got one, attach a cover letter. But again, it's not essential. So the key thing we look at is the application form. And then if you've attached your CV, we'll use that as well. Second stage is an online behavioural and cognitive assessment. That's new for this year. So I'll come on to that kind of major change again in a second. But essentially, it's an online assessment assessing the key behaviours that our business, including our graduates, have told us that our graduates need to thrive in AECOM. Okay, so it's looking at behaviours and also cognitive skills as well around problem solving. And then our third stage is an interview. So behavioural and technical generally, so it does vary a little bit. We like to do it in the office if we can, but we're very flexible doing it on Teams. You know, if you're studying in Edinburgh and you're applying for a role in London, we're not going to expect you to come down to London unless you really want to.
Yeah.
So we're flexible whether we do it virtually or on in the office. And essentially that would usually be some behavioural questions and also some technical questions. So to understand the technical knowledge you've developed at university. There might sometimes for some teams be a written technical assessment, and then following that, the interviewers will ask you some questions about your responses and have a discussion about that, and then lead into the interview part of the process. So it's those three stages. And just coming back to the second stage, that's new this year. So there's a lot of benefits for us internally, but in terms of applicants externally, we don't want it anymore to be just about us assessing you. So we've put a lot of focus on the assessment tool, giving you a lot more information about who we are, what our projects are globally, so not just the UK, what our values are within AECOM, so that you can actually use that tool as much as we do it to kind of assess whether AECOM is a company that you want to work for. So that's the kind of the major change we made so far since we went live in September for next year's intake.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Adam. So I'm going to ask you to pause there while I just ask you a couple of questions. So Najma at the University of Northampton actually asked you about hints and tips with putting their CV together. But Najma, I hope you don't mind, I'm butting in, but I want to expand your question a little bit more. So Adam, you mentioned it's not essential to submit a cover letter and a CV. If a student does submit a cover letter and a CV, what do you want to see on there? What do you expect to see?
Yeah, so sorry, was that question to me?
It was, my love, yes.
Yes, sorry. I mean, I've got some general kind of tips for the three stages. So stage one, I mean, the key word I've probably mentioned a few times already is passion.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're assessing graduates, right, at entry level on looking at future ability or future potential.
Yeah.
One of the key things is really demonstrating you're passionate about working for AECOM and working for the particular team that you've applied to. So I think some of the key things around your application and CV, so in the free text question in the application form, really talking about, really showing, how well you understand AECOM. So what do we do?
Yeah.
What are some of the projects, we've worked on either now or in the past?
Yeah.
What is the technical knowledge you might have developed in your work experience that's suitable to the team you're applying to? You might want to talk about chartership. So looking into the future, do you want to become chartered with the ICE, for example, if you're looking at if you're a civil engineer, and why is that important to you? So things like that, I think, are really key at the front end of the process.
Yeah.
In terms of the online assessment, the best thing I can say is be you. Right, we're not looking for one type of person to join our business. We're looking for lots of different types of people. So don't overthink it. Don't try and think what we're looking for you to say.
Yeah.
And go with your gut instinct. Right. Don't give an answer and then start thinking about it again. Usually you're right for you with your first answer. So don't overthink it too much. And then I think in terms of the final stage, again, passion is a really key thing. Make sure you've done your research. You can talk about AECOM. You can talk about the team and the technical work that they do, the team that you're applying to. Have some questions ready. I would always say have 4 or 5 questions ready, because some of them might be answered during the interview. So just to make sure you've got at least 1 or 2 left to ask at the end of the interview. And then the other thing, and I know it's easy for me to say as an interviewer, is try and relax. They're not there to catch you out. All our interviewers are great. They're not there to catch you out. They're there to get as much information out of you as possible. I know it's nervous going for an interview. We're all the same. It doesn't get any easier the older you get. But just have a think about little things that might make you feel less uncomfortable. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm constantly holding a pen. I might be holding my lip balm. I just always want to have something in my hand.
I've got my lucky egg.
Yeah, lucky eggs.
Or you're a weirdo like Carla who has a lucky egg.
I think the other thing around that is what you're wearing to the interview. Okay, so we don't expect you to wear a suit to the interview. You don't need to wear a suit. So wear what you're comfortable in. Don't come in, jeans and a tank top. But just, if you're not comfortable wearing a full suit, don't wear one.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're not going to wear a full suit very often in the office.
Yeah.
So just come smart, whatever you're comfortable in. But
Yeah.
yeah, just have a think about what will make you feel a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay to bring notes, you know, bring your notepad with you, scribble things down. It shows that
Yeah.
you are engaged.
Yeah, we've had students come to interviews with notes. Yeah, for interview.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I love seeing that when people come for interview at Gradcracker, or even when I'm going to, you know, client meetings off site as well. It's good that it shows that you've done your prep, that you're interested, you know, you are driven, and, you know, like Adam keeps mentioning about, it shows that you've got passion for AECOM. So that's brilliant, Adam. Thank you very much. And like Adam says, he's kind of on one side of it. You know, Adam, it looks after the early careers teams at AECOM, and is also an interviewer. But now what I'm going to go to is speak to actually the students who've gone through the process. And Sam, I'm going to come to you first, if that's okay. So when you put your initial application together, can you talk about how you used Gradcracker to prepare and do your research?
Yes, well, I think the first thing I did was I kind of saved a copy of the kind of job listing or job description as it was on the Gradcracker, so just so I've got it for reference whilst I've been just whilst I was doing my preparation for like interviews and things like that. And also, I think I looked at the kind of the things that they were looking for, in terms of like the essentials and the things nice to have things, just to see what experience, see what things I had that were directly applicable to that thing. And also, I think another thing that I did, I should say, is that I also prepared some kind of interview questions beforehand, and then try to kind of try and come up with some like typical interview questions that you might expect, and then come up with some answers for that. And then I think I used the Gradcracker Hub to kind of research AECOM itself, in terms of like what they do, what sectors they work in, what clients they work for, any particular projects that they work on, or case studies and things like that, and then just try and work that into my answers, just to show that I've done my research on AECOM, and that I am genuinely serious about working with AECOM. And also, so I think it was just kind of like combining the research I've done on AECOM with the things that I already had on my CV up until that point, just to try and give basically the best quality answers that I can for any interview questions that I can think of beforehand, and any questions that AECOM might actually ask me in the interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and Sophie, when you talk about Gradcracker, we're just like beaming, like checking that. But like, oh, it's like our little baby. But yeah, like Sam mentioned, what you can do if you register on Gradcracker, you can save the jobs to your job diary. So it's a really good thing to do, and it's a really good reference point. Like Adam mentioned, you know, you might be applying to more than one opportunity. So save these jobs, then you can go back and cross-reference the job description and what AECOM are looking for to the application that you're putting together. And Sam, when we spoke, you know, previously when we were doing this, you know, webinar prep and things like that, you did mention that you were part of, you know, societies at university, and you did do a lot of voluntary work. And Adam's mentioned about it, putting onto your application about work experience. Are those the things that you did include in your application?
Yes, I did. I think in terms of the voluntary work, that was something that I definitely did include. I think it was just to show that I was just not thinking about just myself. I was thinking about that I am prepared to think about other people itself. I am prepared to give back to the community, and that I'm just genuinely prepared to give up some of my free time to help like charities and other people in need. And in terms of the societies that I was involved with when I was at university, I definitely included them into my CV as well, just to show that I am prepared to kind of put myself forward into positions of responsibility, that I am prepared. And also, I think it helps develop your team working skills, your communication skills, and kind of your time management skills even as well. So I think it definitely helps enhance your kind of soft skills or your transferable skills that you already have on your CV as well. And it just provides further evidence of that as well. So I think that definitely makes you look more appealing to AECOM or any other company that you may apply for on Gradcracker.
Absolutely. I'm glad. Good kiss you.
I was just thinking of Jess when he was talking then about the societies, and you know, it's exactly why we encourage students to get involved in societies, because of everything you were saying, Sam. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, all those transferable skills. Perfect. And what we're going to do now is move on slightly. So Sam's given you some really good hints and tips there about the initial application. And Alex, I'm going to come to you and talk about the interview. How did you feel? How did you prepare? Give me some hints and tips.
Obviously I felt nervous. So my interview was actually for my internship. So I didn't necessarily go through the whole process that Adam mentioned, but I did provide CV, covering letter, and then I had an interview. I was nervous, but aren't we all nervous? I felt like there wasn't any need to be. Like, the interviewers very quickly kind of settled my nerves. We talked about something very generic, non-AECOM related, and it kind of was like, oh, okay, kind of get you on a roll, and then they start, you know, pushing and prompting with the specific questions they want to ask. But like, I felt that they were keen to get to know me and like kind of see who I was. And often, you know, kind of the interview is obviously about seeing whether you fit for AECOM, but also about whether AECOM fits for you. And I think that kind of the interview again really solidified that for me in terms of, you know, these are people I could be working with. Can I see myself? Absolutely, yes. They're friendly, they're approachable, you know, and kind of, yeah, just they were showing interest in me as much as I was showing interest in them. And that kind of, I think that really makes for a really nice interview. You know, I came out of it and I was like, oh, that was actually really good. Yeah, kind of not to be surprised. But yeah. In terms of like prep, I mean, I researched AECOM, but also, you know, and everything that everyone's mentioned about like looking at your, you know, your business line, where you want to apply, etc. But also like thinking about how the AECOM values fit into who you are. You know, and like making sure that you understand those, and as Sam's mentioned, kind of like joining the dots, going, okay, this is how maybe I've showed this, and this is maybe how I've showed this. And, you know, about like, you know, just basically kind of showing and seeing how you fit into AECOM as part of kind of, you know, the company itself.
It's lovely when you have an interview, you don't feel like you've actually been interviewed, and it is just a bit of a chat and a conversation. And like Alex says, it's definitely a two-way thing. You know, you want to get to know about AECOM, and then obviously they want to get to know about you as well. So yeah, really good. Thank you very much for that, Alex. And Christina, when the student starts, so whether you are a degree apprentice, whether you are a placement student or a grad, how did you prepare for your first couple of weeks at AECOM?
Okay, so I think as Alex was mentioning before, I think straight after university, I just wanted a little bit of a break. So I didn't actually prepare that much before going into the job, which again, it could be good and bad. In my experience, it was kind of good in terms of you weren't expected to know everything on the first day. No one was there bombarding you with questions and things, which was great. You would learn a lot of things on the job. But it would be good to kind of maybe go over a couple of things that you've learned in uni, maybe like the major like principles and whatnot for civil engineering anyway. It's just good if anyone asks anything to kind of look prepared. But again, I felt like both of the teams I've been in, whether that's engineering or project management, it was kind of a really good start for me. So on the first day, in terms of practical things, they kind of give you the laptop and the work phone, you set all these things up, and then you move on to the onboarding side of things, where, as Sam mentioned before, you kind of enroll into the advanced scheme. So you start off with the module straight away. In my experience, they haven't really put me on projects for a couple of weeks, because they just give you some time to ease in, which was great actually, because on top of kind of enrolling into the modules and whatnot, you also get to meet people. So I was assigned to a line manager, and I also had a buddy in both of these teams. So again, with the line manager, you can ask perhaps the more kind of technical and formal questions, whereas with a buddy, you can ask the more informal questions, and chances are it's someone at the same grade as you. So you just go to them straight away, you ask something, and then it's just nice. So and then I think in the first week or so, we all went for lunch together in terms of all the grads and all the buddies. So you get to meet other grads as well, which is great when you want to create a network of like people around the same age as you, same experiences. The first 2 weeks were quite good, and then towards the end of the second week is when I was put on projects slowly, so I got to kind of meet the wider team and whoever I was working on projects with.
So you're allowed to settle in, you know, come to terms with technology, learn how to turn a computer on. Sophie's thinking, I doesn't even know how to do that still after all the time that she's been here, but perfect, that's really good. Thank you very much for that, Christina. Wow, another amazing webinar with the AECOM. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Don't forget, we've given you so many hints and tips as part of this webinar, you know, from Adam's point of view and also from the grads' point of views as well. So we've gone through the whole process So how you can be successful during the initial stage, the interview stage, and then how to be successful when you actually start your career at AECOM. So good luck, everybody, when you do decide to apply to the opportunities. As I've mentioned, they are currently live on the Gradcracker Hub, but give AECOM a quick follow as well, because there are more opportunities to come when Adam and Adam's team open them in the next couple of days / weeks. I'm not going to tie you to that, Adam. And don't forget as well that, you know, Adam talks about a lot about work experience, but mention this webinar as part of your application, because it does show that you've taken the time to watch the webinar with us, and to also go back and look at the takeaways that we'll put together over the next couple of days. So good luck with during your applications, and hopefully this time next year you'll be part of the webinar with us, fingers crossed. And join me and Jess, actually. Sophie's having a bit of a break next week, aren't you, love? You're having a bit of a rest. She needs a
Sounds
nap.
like my voice needs it.
Yeah, needs a nap. So me and Jess are going to be joined by McLaren Thursday, I think it's the 31st, I should have checked this before, 2 o'clock, but we'll hopefully see you then. But for today, go and apply to AECOM and give them a quick follow. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.